Buenos dias, Gunners Collective TV. Back at it, you already know. Like a torta with some bad habits. Bye, bye. Let's get to the intro for reals. Welcome back to the channel. If you haven't already hit your like and subscribe button, put your notification bell on all so that way you are directed to the direction of the dope content that the gun is kicking. Go ahead and do that. I'm very humbled by all your support. Man, you guys just don't know. Thank you so much. So, I wanted to talk about another situation that's going on right now. One of the most heinous crimes that's going on, and it's still going on right now. We've been talking about the Haro case this whole last week and about baby Manuel, justice for him and promise. Of course, I'm very passionate about it. Someone got at me yesterday. They said, don't get too attached. I'm vested. I'm involved. I want to see that baby come home. And I don't care how it happens, but I want to see it happen. He's been through so much. He deserves justice. But there's also another little girl who deserves justice. And I'm going to read you guys the intricacies and the details into the case. 2 more monsters. Monster alert. Monster alert. It's crazy when the parents are monsters. Okay? Hey, is there monsters hiding under the bed? No. They're in the kitchen getting high. That's how unfortunate this world is. But I wanted to talk about another case that comes out of Bakersfield, California. Look, I don't know what they're drinking out there in Bakers, and shout out and respects to Bakersfield, California, but there has been a lot of situations going out there that involve parents and children and the CPS system and all that, and we're going to get to this one. And this one is about a little girl named Genesis, okay? Genesis Araya Mata. I'm going to break you guys down the details right here of the case, and then we're going to get into how serious this is and how the system failed again and how bad these parents are and how I hope they fucking go to hell. Straight up. An 8-year-old girl named Genesis Soraya Mata was found dead in Bakersfield, California, in a Bakersfield, California motel room on August 2nd, 2025. So this just passed while they were making up the Ola situation, while they were lying, while they were doing whatever they were doing to baby Emmanuel. This is what was happening to beautiful Araya, right? Genesis. Her father, Ray Mata Jr., and stepmother, Graciela Bustamante, have been charged with her murder. Kind of gets you in the boo-boo, right? Kind of reminds you of Jake and Rebecca Haro. Here's the charges and the court proceedings that are going on so far. The charges, Ray Mata Jr. and Graciela Bustamante have been both charged with first-degree murder, torture, and willful cruelty to a child. Kind of sounds like Jake. Additional charges of torture and cruelty to another child, an 11-year-old boy, have also been filed. So they weren't one and done. This has been going on in the Hell House, their household, for a while. Both suspects, of course, pleaded not guilty. Their next court date is set for August 16th, 2025, which will be a preliminary hearing. They've already went to court in mid-August, so they've already been to court. They pleaded not guilty, of course. They've been, of course, kept in the Kern County jail facility, and we'll go on from there. I'm going to keep up with this case as well as baby Emmanuel's case because this is a case that was brought to my attention by one of my loyal supporters, and he was absolutely right. I need to bring this one justice as well and do everything that I can to make everyone aware of what's going on. Okay, according to court documents and police reports, Genesis was subjected to a horrific abuse before her death, which both her father and stepmother allegedly participated in. The abuse reportedly included, earmuff it. And that's why I put in a disclaimer, man, because a lot of the people can't stomach this. But this is just the details of the case. It gave me asco when I heard it. Almost made me throw up. Being burned with scalding water. Okay, this is her biological father and, of course, her stepmother. Having her hands crushed, causing her fingernails to detach. Being repeatedly beaten with objects such as wires and hangers. Being punched in the abdomen. Massive burn blisters and splitting skin across her body. This 8-year-old had to endure all this by 2 fucking piece of shit, supposedly wannabe parents, right? The child welfare system got involved. The case was prompted scrutiny of the Kern County child support welfare or child welfare. I said child support because I'm used to paying that shit. The child welfare system, as it was revealed that Child Protective Services had an open investigation into Ray Mata before Genesis' death. They had an open investigation. They did nothing about it. There was previous reports of abuse and allegedly been made by the CPS for years. For years, they had the opportunity to go do something. They failed. Systematic failure. Community members and family have expressed outrage, claiming the system failed to protect Genesis, as well as that 11-year-old boy, as well as anyone that they ever came in contact with. It's crazy that people would do this to their children and that there's no one out there to help them and to save them. Not family members, not the system, nobody. It's unfortunate. It was confirmed that CPS had been notified that one of Mata's children was missing school and had bruises, yet an investigation was already underway when Genesis died. So they were already looking into bruises on another child and the missing of school. That's why I say send your kids to school. You know, we got those kids. I don't want to go to school. I don't want. You better go. You better not bring the CPS and the cops to my pad, right? Especially when you're a good parent working your hardest and trying your hardest. We need to be more involved in our children's lives and let them know why. Just in fact, they must go to school, even though they're having issues or they don't want to. You have to go, right? Genesis' biological mother, Destiny De La Cruz, came forward after her daughter's death. Okay. In 2018, De La Cruz had given custody of Genesis to her and her brother to Ray Mata's mother, believing they would be in a better environment. Okay. De La Cruz and her mother stated that they were told the children were doing fine, and De La Cruz had not seen Genesis since 2018. Okay, let's get to the case. That was the details, the facts. First of all, whatever situation the mother was in to give her children to the family of Ray Mata, right? We can't judge her. Some people have bad luck. They have a bad life. They get involved in drugs. They get involved in whatever. But as a mother, you would think that she would do her hardest or try her hardest to keep her children with her. But I understand these are the breaks. I also understand that a lot of single mothers aren't built like my single mother was, right? A lot of single mothers nowadays, man, are too interested in going out partying and getting high and kicking it with the next man that they just met on the internet, right? Rather than take care of their children. But at least she had enough wherewithal, and at least she had enough understanding to send her children to what she thought was a better environment. Because I said it in my other video and I expressed it in the live. If you are a parent that cannot control your child, or you can't provide for your child, or you just don't want to deal with the drama, even though you made that child and you should deal with it because that's your responsibility. I understand about giving them to a family member or forwarding them, and they're not and it's them. It's not it, right? They're people. They're your children, your kids. You should want to love them. You should want to keep them and struggle with them than without them. But I understand about giving them up to an organization or to CPS or whatever you got to do, whatever is going to put that child into a healthier environment than the environment that you can't provide for them. Now, this guy, Ray Mata Jr., is a piece of shit. Okay? He allowed the stepmother, Graciela, and himself to come to a situation where they beat their child literally to death. Okay? This happened in a hotel room in Bakersfield, California. Now, when they were arrested, the father was quick to point the finger at the stepmother and blame her and say that she's the one that poured the water. She's the one that did this. She's the one that did that. And of course, Graciela was quick to point the finger at Ray. Now, Ray Mata has been questioned in several beatings of his children. This was not the first time. Like they said, there's an open CPS case on another son. We're not even going to count Genesis yet, right? These people are quick to play the blame game, which got me really triggered and really thinking back to, Jake Carl and Rebecca, where Rebecca is so sprung on fucking Jake. She's refusing to blame him for anything. She's standing strong. I guess there's some gangsters out there that are like, yeah, she's standing strong. Well, you got your fucking bowl of fucking fruit mixed up and it's starting to mold, because we're talking about a woman that is protecting a man that has killed a baby. So if that's what you're into, if that's what makes you solid by standing strong, then you're going to go ahead and be solid. And I'm not. Because I'm going to tell you right now, if I had any information that could lead to baby Emmanuel's whereabouts and to help get a conviction in this case, fuck them. I'm with that, right? When it comes to children and kids, there is no stand strong and keep your muzzle on lock and don't snitch. Your homeboy is going to tell on you on a petty crime, bro. This is some serious shit. But again, Rebecca's standing strong and not saying anything yet. Graciela told immediately, but she's just as guilty. She was with that man and she knew what that man was doing, what he did to his son. Now, we're talking about a child that went to school covered in bruises. And of course, the teachers and everyone else was concerned. And CPS was involved, but CPS is slow to act in some situations. Okay, here's my thing. If your family is living at a motel room, and again, I understand the situation of not having a lot of money, but if your family is living in a motel room, if this kid comes to school covered in bruises, I'm not even going to hesitate to pull the trigger to remove him from the home if I was the CPS. First of all, you can't provide stable living. I understand you don't have a job or don't have money or on drugs or a recovering addict or whatever fucking excuse you have in life, right, to tell yourself is why you're not doing good. But what we need to do is remove this child from the household, right? And maybe give him back to his mother who gave him up in the first place. Because, see, we're hoping that when the biological mother gave up her child, Genesis, and this little boy, that she got her shit together. You don't just give your children up and keep on doing the same old thing you were doing. You don't give your child up to a father or to a mother or to a grandparent or to a cousin or aunt and uncle and then continue to still get high and party. That doesn't mean a get out of jail free card. That doesn't mean keep partying. You're supposed to, as a fucking human being and a good person and a parent, want to get your children back. I've seen plenty of mothers that have lost their children to the system, that have went and got a job, that have went and took classes, that have went and put forth the effort to get their children back. Now, not all of them do, because maybe your child is in a better environment and you can't give them that no matter how hard you try. And you should thank the other parent and thank the other family that they're helping. Thank the Lord that your child is in a better position than you would be in, or that you could provide, rather than being a hater or an asshole and trying to make it more difficult, because all you're doing is affecting your kid. That's just the truth. How do I know? Man, if you guys don't even know that the gun knows. I've been through that situation. I got full custody of a daughter, and it's this. I don't want to continue to beat a dead horse, right, and to put her story out there, but I will say that this reminded me a lot of what was going on besides the torture and stuff, because my daughter's perfectly fine. Although her mom has tried in the past to allege some shit, right? Her and her boyfriend. But that's just how it goes. I understand, the hate will be hate, and the money situation, when it's funny, you want mine. You ain't never going to get that. Now, when it comes to Genesis, the torture and the abuse that she had to endure, and believe me, this was not the first time. We're talking about scalding water. What would take a parent to that place? Look, I understand discipline, and my form of discipline is different from others. Okay, I don't believe in beating on your child or touching your child. I believe in verbal discipline. Maybe take their devices away from them. Maybe not let them hang out with the friends that they're hanging out with. There's different methods and different ways to do it. I know we grew up by the rod, and believe me, moms did not spare that rod. I got every bit of that rod, right? But I understand why. I understand what I was putting her through, how she was a single mother and how I was being an asshole and not going with the program and making things more difficult for her when I should have been helping her, right? So the discipline we received in the 80s and the 90s is much different than what these children should be receiving right now. We've elevated in our ways of thinking. We've elevated in our methods of discipline. So the best way to do it now is to take their devices. Oh, they hate that shit, right? You cut off the cord to their PlayStation 5 and you're going to have some little boys out there, make them clean the yard, make them take their ass outside and ride a bike. Go outside. You're not playing video games anymore. That helps. But putting scalding water to the nails fall, or crushing hands to the nails fall off, that is just simple. These people need psychiatric help. They need to go to a fucking mental place. In fact, let them go to prison. Let them go there first. Let them get a little taste of that yarda, right? This is another situation of a man and a woman that are blaming each other, but were both involved because they did not want these children around. I'm so sad that Genesis had to endure this. Okay, that's why I'm sad about what's going on with baby Manuel. We don't know what he endured. The only difference is he was a baby, but we don't know what babies feel and if they have an understanding of what's really going on, if they know. He was 7 months old, so we don't know if he knew. But with Genesis, we're talking about an 8-year-old little girl already in school, can talk, can walk, can play, can do all that. She definitely knows. The father's a fucking monster. You know, him saying that this woman did all this to his child, and if there's any reason to snatch a chick up and throw her up out the door, that's the reason. If any woman harms your child or even looks at your child different, let me explain to you two situations. Let me explain to you how this is the difference between me and them. And again, we're going to get back to Genesis because we're not going to stop till we get justice for Genesis. Her parents need to rot in a cell under Jake and Rebecca Harrell's cell. They all need to cell up together and fucking be hot water pouring on them. That's just how I feel. But I'm not trying to incite violence, but I just feeling violent this morning. My situation, I got married. First wife, right? Good woman. She had children. I accepted her children as mine. At the same time, I also had a daughter that I used to get on the weekends. Okay. Co-parenting. The mother took her for the week. I get her every weekend. And it was working out. You know, I was in my daughter's life. I was the best father I could be. I had my own little place with this chick, man. We were doing the family thing. We were doing good. And she always showed a lot of love to my daughter, you know. In fact, even more. She gave my daughter even more love because she knew my daughter was only there for the weekend. So she did little special things for her. And I was proud that I brought a woman into the situation that was good with my child. I monitored it. Believe me. I watched because if there's ever you take your child around a person, a man, a woman, or whatever, and they act a little different, treat them different in a bad way, we're going to exit that situation ASAP. One day I'm right there. My aunt and uncle had come over. We're watching a movie. She's in the kitchen cooking, my wife. We'd only been together about 8 months, and she was cooking. And my daughter, about a month before my daughter came this time, I had went and bought her first gold ring. You know, I like to buy my children like gold chains, gold rings, you know, little things like that. And I had bought her a Black Hills gold ring. And she'd wear it every day. She was so happy she got it. You know, it wasn't just a little ring. And anyways, she comes to the house that day. She doesn't have the ring on. I don't notice. I'm not tripping off of it. I'm not looking at your hands or nothing like that, right? But my wife at the time, my ex-wife, she notices. And she tells her, hey, where's your ring at? You know, it was a pretty expensive ring at that time. We didn't have a lot of money. I spent $300 on it. I went all out. You know, it's what a father does for his baby, right? And so she says, where's your ring at? And my daughter's not tripping. She says, oh, I don't know. At the time, my daughter's about 11 years old. She's like, oh, I don't know. I probably left it on the mantle on the fireplace at my mom's house, you know, at the house. And she said, oh, or did your bitch mom take it away from you? Everybody in the house stopped. My aunt and uncle kind of stopped. I looked. My aunt and uncle got up. My aunt said, you deal with that. They left. My ex-wife was like, where are they going? I'm cooking. Where are they going, right? I said, hey. I told my daughter, go to the room. I said, why are you going to disrespect her mom to her face like that? Look, I can say some shit about her mom. Believe me, but I don't say it in front of her. But that's her mother. I don't never talk about your children's father in front of them or disrespect, even though I know he's a deadbeat. But I don't do that because that's their father and they love him. She loves her mother. Look at the face she made. You hurt my daughter's feelings, right? Well, it's the truth. Her mom, I said, you don't know shit. She told you she left it there. That's where she left it. You know, the argument continued to escalate to the point where she was like, you and your daughter can get out of my house. It was at that point I knew we got to get out of this situation. And we did. And we were gone forever. Right. The moral to that story is you got to watch people around your children. You might upset them and then they might take it out on your child. Right. Now, in the case of Genesis, Mata, in Bakersfield, this is not the case. This was a situation where drug usage, not having a stable home, being in a hotel room. This man who has a history of violence towards women and children, right, took it out on his daughter with the help of Graciela Bustamante, the stepmother, you know, and they did this together. I'm glad they're both being charged with murder. I'm glad it's all coming out. And of course, one's going to blame the other. You know, the father, we're not even trying to hear that bullshit. You know, reminds me of another Jake. Always innocent. Never did anything. There's always an excuse. Oh, I dropped promise. Oh, my wife was the last one. Like, there's always a fucking excuse. When are you going to be a man for once? Because you obviously ain't being a man in that household, beating on women and children, right? But when are you going to be a man and just accept the responsibilities for what you fucking did, you weirdo? Straight up. And these women that continue to date these guys and these women that continue to, see children in a bad situation and don't help, you're just as guilty and as dirty, if not even dirtier than the man that's doing it. See, a woman's instinct is to protect, to cook for a person. They're nurturers. They want them to eat, to take care of a person, especially children. But you have these women nowadays that are so fucking doped out and so hooked on dick that they're allowing these fucking men to do this to the kids, and they're even participating. Do I think Graciela participated? I think she was all dope fiend out, and she did. These guys are in a fucking hotel room getting high, and this poor little girl might have got on their nerves, and they wanted to get rid of her, so they got rid of her. This is a very sick situation that's going on. So we got Jake and Rebecca Harrell going. They got what they got going on because of baby Emmanuel, right? Who we still want to be found. But to be honest with you, I'm going to do a video later on this afternoon. I got some details. I don't even know what's going on. We're going to have to get to that. But hey, let's keep Genesis in our prayers as well. She needs justice too. We know she's gone. The parents, of course, if you like, I use that term loosely, I don't like to say that, have claimed innocence in this situation, of course. But the only ones innocent were her and her brother that were being abused. And where's the mother in all the situation? Okay? Yes, you gave your children to this man's family, hoping that they would have a better life. So you did what I said you should do if you can't control or your environment or help these children. But where's CPS with this? When the first time her son has bruises, don't you think they would contact the mother? Hey, we got to investigate. And I understand these investigations are private until they get an outcome, so you can't really bring anyone in the loop. I understand this. I've been through it. I know, right? But shouldn't the mother, why don't you talk to your kids since 2018? Like I said, was that a get out of jail free card? Just drop them off with his family and bounce? And you haven't talked to your daughter. It's 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. Damn, that shit sounds very explosive, very fishy. And guess what? Very familiar, because I know how that is, right? I'm just saying, mothers, fathers, stay abreast of what's going on in your child's life. Pay attention. You don't need to make shit up because you hate the other parent because it didn't work out or whatever. You're mad because his dick big. Like, you don't need none of that. But what you need to do is pay attention to your child and make sure your child is good. Just ask the questions. I respect it. I respect when my baby's mother calls my daughter, how's it going? Are you doing well? Are you having, yeah, mom, it's cool. I respect that. I respect that wanting to be involved to some degree, right? That's it. I don't have to like the person to respect them. But in this situation, this poor baby had nowhere to turn to. The mother and the stepfather, and obviously the biological mother was out the picture, out the way. Damn, what a world that we live in where you could just give your kids away and just go have party time. Take care of your fucking kids, man. Anyways, with that being said, hey, rest in peace to Genesis, Araya Mata. Let's keep her in our prayers. And we're going to add her to the long list that's growing right here on Gunners Collective TV, because this is what I'm committed to now. I'm not committed to prison. I'm not committed to the gangs. You guys can have all that, man. That's you. You want it so bad, active gang members and non-actives that still want to be that. That is you. I shouldn't be speaking on it. I'm not going to. Guess where I'm going to be at? I'm going to be right here fighting for the children, man, in a real way. Thumbs up or thumbs down. Heavy's going to be the head that wears the crown. I'm going to continue to strive, struggle, and strive for what I truly believe in. That's the betterment of all people. And that's the bottom line. Why? Because Gun said so.